Another area where Africa was notorious for was the area of poor infrastructure, bad roads, no power, um, telecom challenges, lack of Wi-Fi coverage, and so much. I mean, so much has been said, written, and is still being said and written about Africa's infrastructure gap. However, the good news is that the story has begun to change. The telecoms growth is a very good example where in 20 years, Africa grew from less than 10 million telephone lines to over 700 million. And where today Africa has hundreds of millions of people connected to the internet. In fact, a recent statistic I saw was that in terms of connections, there were more people. There are more people connected to the internet in Africa than everywhere else except China. So this is a big one. That in the area of telecoms, there has been big growth. Several countries have achieved 100% or close to 100% for broadband coverage. These were things that were unheard of in Africa just a decade ago, or sounded impossible. So now that is good news, and that is also being extended to other sectors. So while there is an energy crisis in Africa, the African Union has actually developed a plan recently aiming to significantly reduce the energy shortage in Africa within a decade. Um, Road infrastructure statistics shows that over 100,000 kilometers of roads has been done, tarred, repaired, fixed, paved in Africa in the last 10 years. Thousands of seaports, or hundreds of thousands of seaports, bridges, electrical infrastructure. So there is a lot of tens of billions of dollars is coming into infrastructure in Africa. Of course, there is still room for more. But with this spend that has already happened, also brings the need for services. So, for example, using the telecoms example, as the cell phones became available everywhere, there was then the ability for fintech to be used across the continent. Prior to 20 years ago, there were no MasterCards and Visa cards in Africa. Today, all bank holders have those things because the cell phone technology has made it possible for those services to be offered. Money transfer services, investment services, loan lending apps, education and learning systems offered off cell phones and computers, medical services. There's so many services that have grown on the back of the telecoms industry. The same goes for energy, for roads. When you build a road, a city comes up, houses on the roadside, gas stations, um, all manners of facilities, shops, come up because of road infrastructure. The same goes for ports. So in all sectors or all regions of Africa, you will find, if you look closely, that there is game-changing infrastructure that has been happening. There is a train that was built from Ethiopia all the way to Djibouti, the neighboring country, to access the seaports. Kenya has been building some mega rail services. Morocco, Nigeria has doubled its seaport capacity by building a new mega seaport. South Africa is doing that too, is building some infrastructure. Egypt in 2020, Egypt earned the award. The Egyptian government earned the award as the great builder, for building thousands of kilometers of roads. So this is happening all across the continent. The different institutions, the African Development Bank, the World Bank, um, investors from Asia, etc., the governments on Africa are all putting hands through different mechanisms to push infrastructure growth. So that means business is growing. That means opportunities are opening up. That means there is more access to different parts of the continent, to resources from different parts of the continent. If you drive in some parts of the world, you see that there are rest stops regularly. This is not yet available in many parts of Africa. That in itself is a business. So one company could come in and provide rest stops along the road. Then other companies could go along and do other businesses at the rest stops, Wi-Fi services, food, um, um, a place to like rest, what do you call it, like business lounges, places for people to relax and refresh, have use a bathroom and things like that. So there is so much that can grow on the back of infrastructure development on the continent of Africa. So this is another good reason why you should invest in Africa.